Let's just talk about what competition is. If you've downloaded that companion guide, you've got the full paragraph definition. And I just wanted to pull a few pieces out of that really resonated with me. I think helps us understand competition on a deeper level. Really, the essence of competition is about comparison. It's about not just wanting to beat your own best time, but looking left and right and wanting to be the best compared to other people. So folks with high competition tend to instinctively look for what can be counted, ranked, measured, or sorted. And they don't. One of the sentences I really love in this paragraph is, "You don't compete for the fun of competing. You compete to win." And I think that helps us see the seriousness and the value in competition. It's not just that I really like games. It's that I live for the victory of that game. And I think it can be a fantastic theme to serve groups of people. I coach a lot of executive teams and a lot of people who sit in a position where they try to strategize and try to think about how are you going to affect the success of an entire organization. And very often it can get easy to get stuck navel gazing and looking at our own metrics, looking at how are we performing. What I find really stretches groups like that, or really any sort of leadership group, is somebody who can say, let's not just get impressed with ourselves, but let's pay close attention to what other people in our industry are doing, or even more creatively, what other people who others might think have nothing to do with us are doing. Competition is that essence of being able to benchmark against something else. And it's not just, again, coming back to the idea of it's not the joy of competing. The quote that it came to mind, and I had to look it up to make sure I had it right, when I think about competition, is close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Competition isn't about trying really hard and learning something when you try. Let go of that. That's not what somebody with high competition is going to get excited about. It's about winning, and it's about not necessarily. Think about sometimes competition gets compared with achiever, whereas achiever is about the effort that it takes to complete, and the excitement is in putting in a lot of elbow grease and a lot of hard work. With competition, it can take a little bit of work or it can take a lot of work. It's not done until you've won. So let's think about, what does that look like as a leader? As an individual contributor, competition might be I'm outpacing everyone else. As a leader, it can be we are ahead of the competition. So it's paying attention not just to how you are doing, not just to how your team is doing, but how that compares to others. And I think that brings an essence of relevance that is often missed. It's how leaders can stay ahead of the curve. It's how they can stay in tune with their clients and their customers. And it's how they can set meaningful benchmarks for their team that bring a lot of clarity toward forward progress. I think that oftentimes there is a negative connotation with people with high competition. If you were Googling quotes about competition, most of the stuff that comes up is about letting go of competition, or about tapping that down and realizing that the swimmer in your lane is the one that matters, or the competition that's most important is with yourself, which honestly, I think just comes about because there's more of us in the world who have high achiever than there is people who have high competition. It's not super common. Last I checked, it was about number 26 out of 34 in terms of frequency of how often it fits in people's top 5. And so I think we need to dive into loving that competition and accepting the power and partnership that can happen when you've got somebody who says, no, it matters how other people are doing, and it matters that we're the best. So because of that, I find that people struggle sometimes, even coaches struggle when they are coaching managers with high competition. For some reason, there tends to be that little bit of a mental block that you couldn't be an excellent developer of people if you have high competition. And I can't wait for you to meet Eric, our guest today, because I think he's going to blow that notion away. But I'd also like you to think about the developmental nature of noticing heroes and noticing champions. People with high competition are paying attention to winning. They're paying attention to what works. They're paying attention to who's the very best. And they're doing it not just sort of up and down, they're doing it left and right as well. So they're constantly scanning their team, scanning the competition, and looking for, gosh, who's the very best and how can I be a part of that? I imagine that to be a fantastic mentorship tool. If you can notice the folks on your team, typically those people with high competition notice talent in others, and they do it in quantifiable ways, often in times that other people haven't even seen it themselves. So you're not going to be the type of coach who sits on the sidelines with high competition. You're going to be more of a baseball style. You're going to wear the uniform. You're going to stand on that baseline with people. I think it changes when you've got competition versus maybe some say developer, but it certainly can be a fantastic talent as a manager. I think what competition in a leader brings is paying attention to celebration, not taking celebration lightly, because you're paying attention to and feeling the catharsis of victory. It means that you can be fantastic at recognizing people. I think that competition does need a challenge, something to grow, something to improve, and someone to compare to. So you can think about that on a group level. You can think about that on an individual level. One way to think about investing in competition talent as a leader is just to make sure you're paying attention to higher and better performers. Who is constantly helping you push that envelope, and how can you measure yourself against them? The final thing that I've got before I introduce our guest, Eric, today is we want to talk about the 4 needs of followers: trust, compassion, stability, and hope, specific to what does competition have to offer to these 4 needs. The first one I'll talk about is trust. I think about any leader can build great trust by just increasing their self-awareness and helping others learn about themselves as well. That sort of transparency and authenticity is more important, I think, now than it ever has been. So I would talk with competition. I would ask a leader, how do you communicate your passion for winning? And where can you express the cost of a loss? People with high competition take winning and losing in their soul. I mean, they feel it in their spine. So you need that safe place where people can know that this isn't just a game, but that this is really something that in your belly is important to you. So lean into that, find great ways to help people, to help share that joy. Remember, it's an influencing theme. You can help other people feel that same sort of joy as well. And also think about, how do you handle yourself when you don't win? And how can you make sure that you've got some safe places where people can either give you some space or help you through it? A leader with competition could show compassion, I think, by understanding how do I tailor my competition to the very best place possible, and also how do I use this to develop other people. So a question you might ask is, who is competing with you? And how can you push each other farther? Oftentimes you'll find that people with high competition notice other competitors. They know who else the game matters to, and you can build some really great relationships there. I think I'm at a loss when I think about sports analogies, but I'm sure if you wanted to look up sports competitors who ended up being great friends, there's stories all over. So it's about thinking about, how do you connect with those folks who are also in the game with you, and how can you make each other better? Around stability, I think about it again as that developmental nature. What does your bench strength look like? So how can you talk about what your team has to offer now and what they have to offer in the future? Who are you thinking about mentoring? Are you going to have the right people in the right place, and why? Again, tapping into the fact that you pay attention to what works. You pay attention to heroes and champions. So also think about, what is your team constantly improving upon? What are people getting better at? You probably notice some of these potential talents in others before even they do. So really bringing that out and realizing that's something other people don't see, a fantastic way to build stability. And finally, on hope, I think it's important to ask leaders, what are the measures to beat inside and outside of your organization? And how can you illustrate those and make them crystal clear to folks? Remember, hope is the belief that tomorrow is going to be better than today, and that you have the ability to make it so. So your natural inclination to measure things and to see the progress can be the best tool that you have in order to help other people see how tomorrow is going to be better.